How does a man worth over $1 billion, a titan of music and fashion, watch his empire catastrophically collapse in what feels like a single moment? This isn't just another story about some controversial tweets or a public meltdown. This is the story of a complete and total unraveling. We're going behind the curtain to look at the financial, personal, and public fallout that has swallowed one of the most famous figures of our time. We're going to dissect the end of a dynasty, from the frantic final days of a billion-dollar sneaker deal to the deeply personal battles still playing out for the world to see. What happens when the very genius that builds an empire becomes the same force that threatens to burn it all to the ground? For years, Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, lived in a world he built himself. He was a Grammy-winning musical visionary who completely redefined hip-hop, a fashion mogul who turned sneakers into a multi-billion-dollar business, and a cultural lightning rod who, for better or worse, always kept the world watching. His brand, Yeezy, wasn't just a label, it was a cultural phenomenon. His concerts would sell out in minutes, his clothes were wanted by millions, and his marriage to Kim Kardashian made them one of the most powerful couples on the planet. He built this image of a tortured genius, a man whose unfiltered thoughts were just a side effect of his creative brilliance. And for the most part, the world bought it. His rants were analyzed, his provocations were debated, and his products flew off the shelves. He wasn't just another celebrity, he was a cultural institution, a self-made billionaire who had seemingly bent the world to his will. But behind that carefully built facade of invincibility, the foundations of his empire were starting to crack. The behavior that was once brushed off as eccentric was about to become indefensible, setting off a chain reaction that would tear down everything he had built. To really understand how big the collapse was, you first have to appreciate the sheer scale of what he built. Kanye West's journey didn't start with sneakers or celebrity drama. It started in a Chicago bedroom with a drum machine and a hunger to succeed. His early days as a producer for Rockefeller Records in the early 2000s made him a certified hitmaker, crafting the sound for superstars like Jay-Z. But producing wasn't enough. He wanted to be the voice, not just the guy behind the sound. His debut album, The College Dropout, was a massive event. It was raw, honest, and totally different from the gangster rap that was all over the charts. It was a huge critical and commercial success that announced a new kind of superstar, one who was vulnerable, ambitious, and completely unapologetically himself. Over the next 10 years, he dropped a string of legendary albums, from the stadium-sized anthems of Graduation to the groundbreaking industrial noise of Yeezus. Each album was an evolution, a reinvention that pushed the limits of music and pop culture. He wasn't just making songs, he was creating entire artistic statements. This musical success was the launchpad for his fashion ambitions. After trying for years to break into the exclusive world of high fashion, he found a powerful partner in Adidas. Their collaboration, which kicked off in 2013, was a match made in commercial heaven. The Yeezy sneaker line became an insane phenomenon. Limited releases would sell out in seconds, and their resale value would skyrocket into the thousands. This wasn't just a shoe, it was a status symbol. The Yeezy brand was pulling in an estimated $2 billion in annual revenue, making up about 10% of Adidas's total income. It was this partnership that officially made Kanye West a billionaire. He had done the impossible. He had conquered both music and fashion, building an empire on his own unique vision and relentless self-belief. He was on top of the world, and it seemed like nothing could touch him. While the empire was getting bigger, the man who built it was showing signs of instability. At first, these moments were just chalked up to the Kanye persona, bits of unfiltered ego that blurred the line between performance art and a genuine problem. The infamous 2009 VMA incident, where he stormed the stage during Taylor Swift's acceptance speech, was a huge moment. It was a stark public display of a man who felt his own sense of justice was more important than social norms. He was condemned for it, sure, but many people still saw it as a passionate artist, just fighting for what he believed in. However, many people point to the death of his mother, Donda West, in 2007 as a profoundly destabilizing event in his life. She was his anchor, his biggest supporter, and his moral compass. Her loss left a hole that, by his own admission, he never really knew how to fill. In the years that followed, his public behavior got more erratic, and his statements more provocative. In 2016, he was hospitalized after a psychiatric emergency, which led to him publicly sharing his bipolar disorder diagnosis. He even called it his superpower on his 2018 album, Yeah. Kim Kardashian, who was his wife at the time, publicly asked for compassion, pointing to his compulsive behavior and the incredible pressure he was under. His jump into politics with the Make America Great Again hat and his bizarre 2020 run for president alienated a huge chunk of his fan base. He made statements, like suggesting slavery was a choice, that were met with massive backlash. And yet, through all of it, his commercial power stayed mostly intact. His music still charted, his sneakers still sold out, and his influence, even with all the controversy, was undeniable. The cracks were there for everyone to see, but the structure of his empire was still holding strong. It seemed like the corporate world, especially Adidas, was willing to put up with the increasingly erratic behavior as long as the money kept rolling in. But that tolerance had a limit, and Kanye was about to cross it in the most public and damaging way you can imagine. The slow unraveling turned into a complete freefall in the fall of 2022. It all started at Paris Fashion Week, where Ye wore a White Lives Matter t-shirt. That phrase is designated by the Anti-Defamation League as a white supremacist slogan. The stunt immediately got him fierce criticism from friends, collaborators, and the public. But that was just the beginning. In the weeks that followed, Ye went on a series of anti-Semitic rants on social media and in interviews. He tweeted that he was going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, a violent threat that got his Twitter and Instagram accounts locked. He didn't back down. In unaired parts of an interview with Tucker Carlson, he spewed anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. He went on the Drink Champs podcast and falsely claimed that George Floyd died from fentanyl, all while pushing the tired trope that Jewish people control the media. The backlash was swift and severe. His talent agency, CAA, dropped him. The production company MRC announced it was shelving a completed documentary about him. Balenciaga and Gap, two of his major fashion partners, cut all ties. His private school, Donda Academy, reportedly shut its doors in the middle of the fallout. The controversy hit a horrifying peak during an interview with conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, where Ye openly praised Adolf Hitler and denied the Holocaust. Every human being has value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler, he said, sitting next to the white supremacist Nick Fuentes. The comments were so extreme, so unapologetically hateful, that they became impossible for anyone to ignore or excuse. He wasn't a provocative artist pushing boundaries anymore. He was actively promoting violent, dangerous ideologies. The corporate world that had profited from his genius for years could no longer look the other way. The final pillar of his empire, the Adidas partnership, was about to come crashing down. For weeks, as brand after brand cut ties with Ye, Adidas stayed strangely silent. The German sportswear giant was in an impossible spot. The Yeezy line was a cash cow, a cultural powerhouse that had completely revitalized the Adidas brand. But the pressure was building. Activist groups, shareholders, and the public were all demanding action. Finally, in October 2022, Adidas pulled the plug. They terminated their partnership with Ye, effective immediately, stating that the company does not tolerate anti-Semitism and any other sort of hate speech. The financial hit was huge. Adidas reported that ending the deal cost them at least $250 million in 2022 alone. Later reports revealed the chaos that had been brewing behind the scenes for years. A New York Times investigation described a toxic work environment where Ye allegedly subjected Adidas employees to angry outbursts and offensive behavior. Some of the incidents included him drawing a swastika on a shoe during a meeting at the company's German headquarters and telling a Jewish manager to kiss a picture of Hitler every day. The report suggested that Adidas executives had ignored early warnings about the risk Ye posed, choosing instead to focus on the massive profits the deal was bringing in. Now, the company is facing a lawsuit from shareholders who claim it failed to tell investors about the risks of Ye's behavior. The collapse was total. JP Morgan Chase ended its banking relationship with him. Vogue and its editor-in-chief Anna Wintour reportedly cut ties. In a single day, Ye claimed he lost $2 billion, and his status as a billionaire was officially gone. The empire he'd spent decades building had been turned to rubble by his own words and actions. The fallout continued into 2025, when Adidas announced in March that it had sold the very last of its remaining Yeezy stock, with a portion of the money being donated to groups that fight hate and discrimination. This was the final, definitive end of an era. The Yeezy brand, once a symbol of cultural dominance, was now just a relic of a collapsed empire, a cautionary tale of how quickly fame and fortune can be incinerated by hate. This whole story is far from over, and it brings up some tough questions about accountability, mental health, and our celebrity culture. What are your thoughts on where the responsibility lies? Let us know in the comments below. And if you find these deep dives insightful, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what we explore next. Away from the corporate boardrooms and public outrage, the drama has had a deep and complicated personal impact. In an interview in February 2025, Ye revealed he had been diagnosed with autism. He credited his wife, Bianca Kensori, for pushing him to get a second opinion after his previous bipolar diagnosis just never felt quite right. He explained that this new diagnosis helped him understand some of his behaviors, like his intense fixation on ideas and his resistance to being controlled. But while this revelation offered a new lens to view his actions, it came at the same time as increasingly troubling public statements about his family. The custody of his 4 children with Kim Kardashian has become a constant and volatile source of conflict. Ye has repeatedly gone on social media and live streams to claim he's being blocked from having a say in his children's lives. In one rant, he claimed his parental rights had been stripped away by the Kardashian mob. These public fights have been full of conflicting stories. While Ye claims he's being denied access, sources close to Kardashian have insisted that he has unrestricted access to his children. The whole saga has even included bizarre hoaxes, like a fake cease and desist letter that went viral in May 2025, which accused Kim of exploiting their children before it was debunked. The financial strain from the fallout has reportedly spilled into his personal life. By June 2025, reports were coming out that Ye was feeling the financial pressure of the ongoing custody battle. Sources claimed he was desperate to settle just to avoid the massive legal costs. His net worth, which had already plummeted after losing his brand deals, was at risk of shrinking even more due to multiple lawsuits and the expense of a long court fight. It seemed he was in no position, legally or financially, to keep the battle going. The man who once bragged about his billions was now reportedly unable to afford the legal fight for his own kids, a stark reminder of just how far he has fallen. Even with his business empire gone, Ye's ability to stir up controversy is still there. His embrace of anti-Semitism hasn't been a short phase, but a continuing pattern of behavior. In February 2025, a former Jewish employee filed a lawsuit alleging a campaign of anti-Semitism and misogyny, claiming Ye had called himself a Nazi and Hitler in text messages. Around that same time, he ran a Super Bowl commercial promoting merch that included a t-shirt with a swastika. Then, in May 2025, on the 80th anniversary of the defeat of Nazi Germany, he released a song titled Heil Hitler. The track, which samples one of Hitler's speeches, was later banned in Germany and pulled from most streaming platforms. This has cemented his status as a pariah in many circles. In June 2025, a petition with thousands of signatures called for him to be removed as a headliner for the Rubicon Music Festival in Slovakia. The petition, backed by pro-democracy and peace groups, called his appearance an insult to historical memory and warned that it could attract extremist groups. Festival organizers defended the booking, noting that Ye has since apologized for some of his comments, but the backlash just highlights the deep divide between his remaining supporters and a public that sees him as a promoter of dangerous hate speech. So this is the current state of Kanye West, a man stripped of his billion-dollar fortune, tangled up in personal and legal fights, and largely exiled from the mainstream culture he once completely dominated. His legacy is now a fractured and fiercely debated topic. Is he a fallen genius whose mental health struggles led to his downfall? Or is he a man who needs to be held fully accountable for using his massive platform to spread hate? The tragedy isn't just in the collapse of an empire, but in the waste of a platform that could have been used for so much more. The story of Kanye West has become a dark, cautionary tale about fame, power, and personal responsibility. From a Chicago prodigy to a global icon, and from a billionaire mogul to a public outcast, the path of Kanye West is one of the most dramatic and troubling stories of our time. The Yeezy empire, once a testament to his creative vision, now stands as a monument to his own self-destruction. The latest drama isn't just one single event. It's the result of years of unchecked behavior, all leading to a catastrophic fallout that has left his businesses in ruins, his family relationships strained, and his legacy stained forever. What the future holds for Ye is anyone's guess, but the story of his rise and fall will serve as a powerful and sobering lesson for years to come.